So we're going to talk Superman Returns and just my impression of it. It's my trying to get into my media analysis bag again. I used to have, back in the days, I used to have a feature that I used to write when I was writing for Long Boxing While Black. It was called Weirdest Shit I've Ever Seen. And Bryan Singer's Superman movie came across on that one. So I wanted to dust off some of my old media analysis bad skills and see what I can do with that one. All right. So first things first, segment one, we're going to talk about the weirdest shit I've ever seen. And it was Superman Returns. Now, if you have not seen Superman Returns, I don't know if you're doing yourself a favor by watching it. I don't necessarily consider it a favor. It's an experience. I'll put it that way. If you're a fan of the old kind of Christopher Reeve Superman movies, okay. Because Brandon Routh looks like Christopher Reeve. Like this, he looks exactly like him. Like there's no mistaking it. He was almost a perfect fit for the role. Okay. As vile as Kevin Spacey, vile and contemptible as of a human being as we found out Kevin Spacey is, he's actually pretty good as Lex Luthor. Like it made sense as Lex Luthor. Now, I'm talking about from a character standpoint. I'm not talking about it from a writing standpoint, because the writing is where it really gets really, really weird. It's a really bizarre movie. Okay. But to give a little backstory, Superman Returns came out in 2006. It was a superhero movie. It was a superhero movie in the sense that it was about a superhero. It didn't have any of the other beats of superhero. It was about a superhero going out doing superhero-y stuff, but it's like they decided that we're going to make a superhero movie with no real actual action. Like he's not doing anything. There's no real stakes in this movie up until the last act, the last couple of acts. And when we get to that, the movie took a hard left turn. But yeah, superhero movie directed by Bryan Singer. We didn't know how vile of a person he was. It wasn't common knowledge. And written by Michael Dougherty and Dan Harris. Okay. And it's based on Superman. It's kind of serves as a spiritual successor to the Christopher Reeve Superman movies. And you could see a lot of how they did it. Okay. It's about Superman coming back after after being gone for 5 years. And, he traveled, basically got word that they found the remains of Krypton. He traveled out to see where the remains of Krypton was. That was the kind of the setup why Superman was gone. This is what he was returning for. Okay. Now I went to go see this movie in theaters, and I was really hyped to see this. Like I was excited as hell to go see this new Superman movie, because I came up watching the Christopher Reeve Superman movies, and I watched, 1, 2, and 3. And then whatever that one where he fought the radioactive guy. And here's the crazy part. I didn't know a lot about things. I knew that was a bad movie. And I was a little kid, and I knew that was a terrible movie. That was probably one of the first movies where I'm like, this sucks. Anyway, I was a fan of the Christopher Reeves movies. And I'm like, all right, cool. It's a nostalgia hit. I'm going to go see this on the big screen. I saw it twice. Yeah. And so I think the movie wanted to be a superhero movie. Like, I really do think it wanted to be your basic superhero movie. Okay. It was a drama with Superman in it. It was a drama with Superman in it. And then somehow it turned into an episode of Oz. Like at the end, it turned into an episode of Oz. They didn't do anything to set you up for this, to prepare you for what it was going to turn into. It just did. It just happened. It was jarring to the point where there was a kid in the theater crying because he's like, oh my God, what are they doing to Superman? Like Superman got worked over that. Like, it was crazy. And so anyway, it starts out, he's not really doing anything. He's back. He sees everybody, and I'm going off the top of my head because it's been at least a couple months since I rewatched it, just because it's just been a while. He comes back. He's getting reestablished on Earth. He does some superhero-y things. He flies up and does the Superman stuff where he stops a bank robbery, and then they shoot him, and the bullets bounce off of him, and then they have the slow motion where the bullet bounces off his eye. He catches an airplane. He does all of this stuff. In the meantime, he finds out that Lois has a son, and she's moved on with random dude who was Cyclops in the X-Men movie. And apparently they wrote him off of X3 so he could be in this Superman movie. And they really shouldn't have done that because he served no function in this movie until the last bit of it. And I'm not going to give you a blow by blow review of it. I may save that for a video where I can take an in-depth dive on it. So we're just kind of going through my top of the mind thoughts on it. Okay. The movie forgot to be a superhero movie, and I cannot stress that enough. It was 2.5 hours of drama and relational drama, and Superman really like being like, oh, it's awesome. He's catching planes and stuff like that. He doesn't punch anything. He just flies around and shows that how invulnerable he is. It, if it was not for that, if it was not for the final part of the movie, it would have been the most boring movie you've ever seen in your life. But the hard turn just fascinates me. Okay. And so he don't punch anybody. He just flies around. He catches the plane. He stares at Lois like he's trying to remember her name sometimes. She has this kid. Neither one of them seem to know that it's Superman's kid. I don't know how this happened, where they're just both shocked that he has it's they never really fully explained it. Maybe it might have been something got left down the editing room floor where they gave us a bit of context where there was some ambiguity about the kid being Superman's kid. Because the way they framed it didn't make an ounce of sense. Like it was a big surprise and shock to everybody. And I don't know how one or the other or both, probably both parties were not aware of this unless there was some really unseedy stuff that happened. Maybe that's it. So 2.5 hours, nothing is happening. Like it's just character drama, right? And then out of nowhere, in the third act, here's the thing. Lex got a hold of a crystal, and I cannot remember the mechanism by which this happened, but the crystal got mixed with kryptonite, thrown in the ocean off the coast of Metropolis, and basically created its own island. Now, here's the part that didn't make any sense, because this is where one of the major disconnects. Okay, Lex is presented as a pretty competent guy, pretty intelligent guy, greedy, full of avarice, Lex. Lex's motivation in Superman comics has been, I don't like Superman because I think he's a threat. And he is it's a weird jealousy thing. Like he has this weird infatuation with Superman. And so he sees Superman as this existential threat to humans. And so he's the hero. In Lex's mind, he is the hero of the story. In this movie, he's just Captain Planet villain, evil for the sake of evilness, because he throws the chunk of crystal into the water and instantly it starts growing an island. And the island grows so rapidly that it's on track to destroy the entire eastern seaboard. And Lex doesn't care. Oh, well, it's a real estate play now. I've just destroyed the world. It's a real estate play now. I've doomed the world. Because it's catastrophic. Like, if the eastern seaboard is taken out and part of the United States goes underwater, that is a catastrophe on levels that people do not fathom. And it's going to be a global catastrophe. Because what's to stop this island from growing and encroaching on Europe and the coast of Africa and stuff like that? Like, what's to stop this thing from going that direction, right? But he just did it heedless of what the consumers like. It'll be a real estate play. Just stupid, right? And so that was the villain. The villain of this Superman movie was Lex Luthor and this island that he was growing. For no reason. It didn't make any sense. Like he said it was going to be a real estate play, I guess. I don't understand it. And I'm kind of looking at the wiki to make sure I'm getting the story right. Lex stole kryptonite, and that's how he mixed it with the kryptonite, Kryptonian crystals. Okay, whatever. So we have this island growing off the coast of Metropolis, threatening to basically kill everybody on the eastern seaboard. And then it's going to spread inward. And possibly the world. Like, we don't know. Superman has to go stop it. He lands on the island. And he confronts Lex. And this is where the hard turn took. And it was a hard turn. It came out of nowhere. And it's really the only reason why I really low-key kind of enjoy the movie, like this weird perverse sense of, wow, this is an absolute disaster. I can't take my eyes off of it. Because Lex and his henchmen dog walk Superman and shank him. I'm not talking about stabby with a knife. Like, I'm watching Oz. He has the shank in the pillowcase. He walks up behind dude, sticks him right in the kidneys, and incapacitates him or kills him. That's what Lex did to Superman. And then after they stabbed him, they beat his ass. They beat Superman's ass. It came out of nowhere. Nothing in the movie had led up to this. And the rest of the movie was this homage to Christopher Reeve and Superman flying around and saving things and playing the Superman music and all this other stuff. And then the last act turned into an episode of Oz out of nowhere. And they jumped Superman and they shanked Superman. And I'm in the theater and a child is crying because he's like, oh my God, what are they doing to Superman? Make it stop. They beat the holy hell out of Superman and tried to drown him in a puddle. It was gully. It came out of nowhere. And after Superman was beaten, nearly drowned in a puddle, and shanked up by Lex Luthor himself, they kicked him off the side of the island. Because apparently that's just how it goes. Like, the bad guys never check to see if they've actually killed the guy. They just throw him off the side of the island. It happened with Killmonger, happened with Lex Luthor. That's an ongoing theme. I think they teach you that whenever you're getting your apprentice paperwork as a bad guy. Never follow and see to make sure that the protagonist is dead. So they shank Superman, beat him soundly, and then threw him off the side of this island for him to drown. And in a very Superman way, the climax of the movie was him lifting the island and throwing it into outer space and then falling, with the Jesus metaphor, arms outstretched, falling back to Earth, and him going into the hospital. And then they wrap it up by Superman finding out that he has a child that neither him nor Lois knew about, even though Lois was pregnant with this child and just has no recollection of any kind of physical thing that would have any way of that she would have gotten impregnated by Superman. And he just hovers outside the window looking like a stalker. Weirdest shit I've ever seen. And I enjoyed it. Like, I like bad movies. I like movies that have befuddling actions in them. I do enjoy that kind of stuff. And so I'm not going to front. I've seen this movie multiple times just because of how confounded I was and how jarring that last act is. It came out of nowhere. Nothing had been happening up until this point. Then all of a sudden, everything's happening. And it's not everything's happening in a Superman movie. It's everything from an episode of Oz happening in a Superman movie. Fantastic. If you ever get a chance to sit down, if you ever want to just be mind blown by how a formerly competent director just slaps together ideas, go for it. I think they gave Bryan Singer full creative control over it, and to the point where they basically said, don't have any test audiences or anything. We're gonna give it to them raw. Just gonna show it to them the way it is. And that's what it was. It was beautifully shot. Special effects were great. It was really interesting. But the writing, the script, I don't know what happened. It feels like they cut out a whole swath of the film. Like, there's a chunk of the movie that is missing that sets us up for Superman getting shanked up and stabbed and almost drowned in a puddle. After all this stuff of nothing happening. Okay? And I look at it like, and I'm reading through the accolades of it. Like, it got best visual effects. Everybody seemed to love it. Well, Golden Raspberry to Kate Bosworth. Okay. Like, it's weird. Maybe I'm the only one that felt this was just an odd movie. But like, Empire ranked it 496 on the 500 greatest movies of all time. How? How? This wasn't even the best Superman movie. But I digress. I had a good time with it. My wife is kind of forgetting me because the best story I have about the weirdest shit I've ever seen was Batman versus Superman. That was a smorgasbord of just over the top weirdness. A director absolutely having to really just, I have control of this. I'm gonna do whatever the hell I want to ethos. So I'm on Superman Returns. I will eventually convince her to allow me to talk about her reaction to Batman versus Superman because it's adorable and hilarious. Okay. So here are the things with Superman Returns. First of all, it forgot to be a superhero movie at some point in time. Second, there's this weird whiplash. It was jarring. And if you watch it unprepared, it will absolutely jar you. Okay. I think Singer wanted to make a melancholy superhero movie that was not as involved as the stuff he had done with the X-Men movies. And I think he wanted to make one about, the residual faith and identity and finding oneself, and then returning to the world after the hero's journey. Okay, I feel like he wanted to do that. I just don't think it landed. I don't really think it landed because there's too much that was left out. It was a 2.5 hour movie, so it was already over long. And part of it being over long, it was over long for no real good reason because there wasn't anything happening really in the movie. A good chunk of this movie, there was nothing happening in this movie. Just intense stares and Superman flying off and, Lois kind of, you left us, you abandoned us. Superman kind of mending the relationships that he damaged by taking off. Okay. It's not bad. It was just jarring. And it was not it wasn't entertaining in the sense of there's a visual spectacle going on the screen. I can get with that. But it wasn't entertaining from a storytelling standpoint. Okay. Yeah, it was an experience. Okay. So that's my take on the Superman Returns. I'm probably gonna have a more in-depth, more media analyses thing. I'm going back and pulling my article so I can, because I spent a lot of time. I spent a couple weeks writing that article about why Superman was the weirdest shit I've ever seen. All right, so